Rain was pouring hard that morning, the kind that turns the streets into silver mirrors and makes even the strongest hearts feel small. A young woman, barely 22, ran through those rain-soaked streets, clutching a worn leather folder close to her chest as if her life depended on it. Her shoes were soaked, her dress clung to her like a second skin, and her breath came in uneven gasps. She was late. Again. But today wasn't like the other days. Today was her last chance to change her life. Before we begin, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of good hearts meeting at the right time, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to our channel. Because every story like this reminds us that love and grace can bloom even in the darkest moments. Her name was Emily Carter. She had grown up in a small town where dreams were luxuries, and every morning began with survival. Her father had left when she was 10, and her mother, a housemaid who worked 3 jobs, had passed away 2 years ago from exhaustion and illness. Since then, Emily had been alone, moving from one temporary job to another, struggling to pay rent, skipping meals so she could afford night classes. But she never complained. She just smiled softly when people looked down on her, whispering to herself, "It's okay, I'll make it one day." This morning was supposed to be her interview at the Harper Hotel, one of the grandest places in the city. She had applied for a receptionist position weeks ago and finally got the call. But fate, as always, seemed to enjoy testing her. The bus broke down halfway. She tried to get a taxi, but no one stopped for a drenched girl in an old coat. By the time she arrived at the hotel lobby, her hair was dripping, her hands trembling, and her folder, her precious folder, was slightly torn from the edges. She stepped inside, eyes wide at the chandelier sparkling above her like 1,000 tiny stars. She felt out of place among the marble floors, the scent of expensive perfume, and the silent confidence of people who belong there. The receptionist at the front desk gave her a cold look, the kind that reminded her she didn't fit in. "The interview was scheduled for 10 a.m., the woman said flatly. Emily glanced at the clock. It was 10:45. Her heart sank. I'm so sorry," she whispered. "The bus broke down." "I tried." The woman cut her off. "Mr. Donovan doesn't like waiting." Emily's voice cracked as she spoke. "Please, I just need a chance." At that very moment, the elevator door opened, and Ethan Donovan, the hotel owner, stepped out. He was in his mid-30s, tall, sharply dressed, with eyes that carried both strength and sadness. Everyone in the lobby straightened when they saw him. Ethan was known for his discipline and perfection, but there was something about him that people often missed, a loneliness hidden beneath his polished surface. He had built an empire but lost his parents young. He had success, but no one to share it with. The receptionist began to explain Emily's delay, expecting him to dismiss her immediately. But instead, Ethan looked at Emily. Her soaked clothes, trembling hands, the quiet desperation in her eyes, and something inside him softened. He could see she wasn't making excuses. She was fighting life itself. He walked closer. "You're late," he said quietly. Emily's lips quivered. "I know, sir. I'm so sorry for being late for a few seconds." There was silence, and then Ethan said words that made everyone in the lobby pause. "It's all right," he said. "I've been waiting my whole life." No one understood what he meant, not even Emily. But for Ethan, it wasn't about time. It was about recognizing a soul that mirrored his own. Lost, bruised, but still standing. He invited her into his office. Emily followed, unsure if this was her salvation or just another cruel test. His office was large but minimal, filled with books and family photos. He gestured for her to sit. She hesitated before carefully taking the chair, afraid to stain it with rainwater. He smiled faintly, the first real smile he'd shown anyone in days. As she spoke, explaining her education, her struggles, her mother's death, Ethan listened. really listened, in a way no one else ever had. Her voice was soft but steady. She wasn't asking for pity. She was asking for a chance to prove herself. When she finished, there was a stillness in the room that felt sacred. "You know," Ethan said slowly, "I started with nothing too. I know what it's like to run out of time, to beg for a single chance. You remind me of myself." Only braver, Emily's eyes filled with tears she tried to hide. "Thank you, sir," she said. "I just need a chance to work, to stand on my own. I promise I won't disappoint you." He nodded. "You start tomorrow." That was the day everything changed. Over the next few months, Emily poured her heart into her job. She arrived early, stayed late, and treated every guest with warmth and respect. People noticed her kindness, the way she smiled even when exhausted, the way she comforted guests who were rude or lonely. Soon, she became the heart of the hotel, though she never realized it herself. Ethan watched her quietly. At first, he told himself it was professional admiration. She was hardworking, dedicated, the kind of employee every company dreamed of. But over time, he found himself looking for her face in the crowd, listening for her laughter in the hallways. He started visiting the lobby more often than necessary, pretending to check the decor or talk to staff. Emily noticed, but she kept her distance. She respected him too much, and she didn't dare imagine that someone like him could ever see her that way. But fate had other plans. One evening, the hotel hosted a grand charity gala. Everyone was dressed in glittering gowns and tuxedos, but Emily stayed behind the front desk, managing guest lists. She didn't mind. She was just happy to be there. Halfway through the night, she heard a crash in the kitchen and rushed to help. A waiter had slipped, and a tray of glasses shattered everywhere. Without hesitation, Emily knelt to help him, cutting her hand on the glass in the process. Ethan, who was nearby, saw everything. He ran toward her, kneeling beside her, his voice tense with concern. "Emily, you're hurt." "It's nothing," she said, trying to pull her hand back. But he gently held it, wrapping his handkerchief around her cut. Their eyes met. And in that moment, surrounded by broken glass and noise, the world felt silent. That night, after the gala ended, Ethan found himself standing outside in the rain again, thinking of her. He realized he didn't just admire her strength. He needed it. She was the only person who made him feel human again, not just powerful. Days turned into weeks, and their bond grew. He started finding excuses to talk to her. Coffee breaks, work projects, small compliments that made her blush. But Emily was cautious. She remembered where she came from and how fragile her place in the world was. She didn't want to lose the one thing she'd earned through hard work: respect. Then one day, life tested her again. A rumor spread that Emily had stolen money from a guest. It wasn't true. Someone had set her up out of jealousy. But the hotel's management demanded an investigation, and she was suspended until further notice. She stood there, holding back tears as security escorted her out, whispers following her like shadows. That night, she sat on a park bench in the rain, her old coat clinging to her again, just like the first day. She had no one to call, no one to defend her name. She whispered to herself, "Maybe I really don't belong in that world." But then she heard footsteps. Ethan stood there, holding an umbrella. His face was pale, but his eyes fierce. "You're not alone, Emily," he said softly. "I know you didn't do it. I found the real culprit." She looked up at him in disbelief. You believed me?" "I never doubted you," he said. "From the moment you walked in late that day, I knew you were different. I told you I'd been waiting my whole life. I meant it." He offered his hand, and she took it, trembling. Together, they walked back to the hotel, where he cleared her name publicly and reinstated her with honor. Everyone who had doubted her saw the truth. And for the first time in her life, Emily didn't feel small. She felt seen. From that day, their lives intertwined in ways neither of them expected. They worked side by side, building new projects, helping underprivileged youth find jobs, opening doors for those who needed hope. Ethan didn't just give her a job, he gave her purpose, and she gave him something far greater, a reason to believe in love again. Months later, on a quiet evening at the rooftop of the Harper Hotel, Ethan stood with Emily watching the city lights shimmer below. He turned to her, holding the same gentle smile he'd given her that first day. "You apologized for being late," he said, his voice soft. "But if you'd come any sooner, I might not have been ready to see you." Tears filled her eyes. "You changed my life," she whispered. He shook his head. "No, Emily, you changed mine." And in that moment, simple, quiet, and eternal, they both realized something profound. Love doesn't always arrive when we expect it. Sometimes it comes late, carrying all the storms and scars we tried to survive. But when it finally does, it feels like home. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe to the channel. Before you go, comment below. I believe kindness always finds its way, because sometimes all it takes is one act of grace and one moment of faith to change everything.